I got married when I was 18 years old. I was married for 20 years. And during that 20 years, I was in active addiction as well as my husband. During that 20-year marriage, there was an 8-year period where we lost custody of our kids. I received full custody in 2019, the day I stepped out of rehab. I was in rehab from January of 2019 until August 2019. I've been sober from synthetic drugs and alcohol since then. I definitely relapsed 2 or 3 times within my first year, but I didn't go out on a binge. I had some drinks. I was drinking a few months after I got out of recovery because I was going through a divorce and I had just gotten custody of all the kids back at one time. Plus, 2 of the older kids had homeless girlfriends and boyfriends that needed a place to stay, so I let them stay with me. So I had 8 people to take care of the day that I stepped out of rehab. So, yeah, I took a couple shots. I would never want to give the false impression that sobriety journeys don't have challenges and that people don't relapse, because they do. And that doesn't mean that they're any less committed to their sobriety, because that happens. So now, moving forward, after I got my children back, there were a lot of issues that needed to get dealt with, and I didn't have any support. Not only were the kids being moved around, they had to move from Baltimore way out into a mountain town. Still in Maryland, though, but it's still a major cultural change. Then they had to switch schools and end up going into getting homeschooled from being in public schools. And then they had to reconnect with a mom that they hadn't really talked to that much in 8 entire years. And then their father decides that he's going to go and start a whole new family while we're still married, and was on the side telling me that we were going to get our family back together. And they had to deal with all of that. And I had no support. I had no support whatsoever. I had to leave rehab early because I was being told if I didn't come get my kids, they were going to go into foster care. So I left and I got them. I wasn't getting any support from their father because he was more concerned about his new family, and we just were on our own. So I've got 5 boys and 1 girl. So this is what I did. There are programs called case management programs, and most cities have them. They're for people primarily with disabilities, but anybody can use these services, but it's usually for people who have disabilities. Now, when I say disabilities, it doesn't mean that you just have one eye. This can be a physical disability, a learning disability, or a mental disability. In order to get the proper documentation that you need to qualify for the services that you need and to have it paid for by your insurance, you need to have a therapist. That is why I got a counselor for my kids. Besides the fact that they had been through so much, they needed someone who wasn't me to talk to get that stuff out of their head. And I also knew that I was going to file for disability for at least one of them because they were bipolar real bad. And I was going to need the proper documentation, which can only come from a therapist or a psychotherapist. The case management services, it takes a little while to get your paperwork. Insurance companies like to make everything difficult. I don't know why. So it took about a month for us to finally go in and get evaluated and all this other stuff. But it provided me with a worker for each child. And for my daughter, she had a female worker. My sons each had a male worker. Well, they actually had the same male worker, but he spent time with them individually. And even though we didn't keep him for a very long time, I think we were in this program for maybe 2 or 3 months. And then we got into a better place because my family was in crisis mode. The kids were just going through a lot. They were going through a lot. I was going through a lot. And I didn't feel like I was enough. I needed to have a network of support because it wasn't enough. So I ended up having the same therapist as the other kids. That's not how it started, but that's how it ended. One of my sons went through several therapists because he didn't gel with therapy. He didn't trust them. He was like his dad. He wasn't feeling it. And so even currently, he's the only one that's not in therapy. The rest of us are. And that I'm fine with that. It doesn't work for everybody. It's just like college. College is not for everybody. Like, let people do what they're going to do. We all have our own separate paths to healing. But the case manager would take them off separately and just take them on their little excursions and just talk to them. Now, eventually, my daughter felt like they were ops, and she got the boys to join in, and so nobody wanted to talk to them anymore. But it gave them the space to vent and it got my family out of crisis mode because they helped us hear each other. My kids were not hearing what I was saying to them, and I was not hearing what they were saying to me, and we were all screaming at each other, and we needed an intermediary, and that's what the case manager did for us. And they also provided other resources like transportation, because at the time I wasn't driving and I didn't have a car, and they helped us with a lot of stuff like that. So getting a case manager and putting the kids in counseling was very, very valuable to me, and there's no way that we would be where we are now had we not participated in those things, because we were in full crisis mode and I didn't know what to do. And I heavily prayed over my family all the time for guidance. I do that, and I encourage people to do that. Even if you don't believe in anything specific, it doesn't matter. Just putting positive energy and putting your hopes and dreams into the atmosphere. You can look up the science of positive and negative energy and how it influences matter, even your cells. There's a really great study on the influence of negative and positive frequencies on water. Google it on YouTube and you'll see what I'm talking about. And when you see how that affects water, which your cells are made up of mostly, and it's what your cells need to operate properly, you'll see how important it is to have a positive attitude. It's okay to need help. It's okay to ask for help. I never used to ask for help, and all it did was hurt me. I had to learn that. I had to learn about what true power was and what it meant to take your power back and to stand in your power. And not accepting help, not admitting that you need help is not powerful. It's not a power move. It's not very smart. Read the room, sis. If you need the help, ask for the help. Accept the help. That's a gift from God. You'll be sitting there praying, and then somebody will walk up to you and offer you help, and you'll turn them down, even maybe be rude to them and not realize your blessing was right there. Us as women do that all the time, especially if that blessing comes in the form of a man that you don't know. You need some help with that? No, we all right, girl. Accept the help. You know them bags are too heavy. And I mean, let the men serve. They want to help. Be nice to them. Stop being mean to men. They open the door for you. Say thank you. Stop being rude. Gentlemen, I appreciate you. If no women in your life show you appreciation for the things that you do, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for opening the doors for us. I appreciate it. Chivalry is not dead. It does not have to be. I appreciate it. There are still ladies in this world. Counseling is not for everybody, but it's up to you to know your family and to explore what would work for them and get on your healing journey, because there's no progress if you don't observe your behavior and then make changes. You can't stay the same and expect different results. I love you, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.